The glow of the screen is the only light in the room. You know the report is due tomorrow, you know you should be working on it, but instead you find yourself scrolling through social media, watching another short video. You tell yourself, just 5 more minutes then I'll start. An hour passes, the feeling of guilt begins to build, a quiet hum of anxiety in the back of your mind. This is the familiar cycle of procrastination. It promises temporary relief but delivers a heavier burden of stress and regret. The task itself hasn't changed, but the pressure surrounding it has grown, making it even harder to begin than it was hours ago. This cycle is incredibly common. We all experience it. You might have a big project at work that feels too large to even think about. Or maybe it's a personal goal like starting an exercise routine or organizing the garage that you keep pushing to next week. Each time we delay, we add a small, invisible weight to our shoulders. This weight is made of missed opportunities, last-minute panic, and the quiet disappointment in ourselves for not doing what we said we would do. It drains our energy not through action, but through the mental effort of constantly avoiding the action we know is necessary. The frustration is not just about the task itself. It is about the gap between the person we want to be and the person we are in that moment. We want to be productive, reliable, and accomplished. We want to feel in control of our time and our lives. But when we procrastinate, we feel the opposite. We feel reactive, disorganized, and behind. This internal conflict is exhausting. The most frustrating part is that we often know exactly what we need to do. The path is clear, but taking that first step feels impossible, as if an invisible wall stands in our way. The problem with later is that it is a vague and endless destination. It is a place where we imagine we will have more energy, more motivation, and fewer distractions. But when later arrives, it is simply another now, and we often find ourselves in the exact same position. The conditions are never perfect. The motivation rarely strikes like a bolt of lightning. The truth is, the weight of waiting is often heavier than the weight of the work itself. The stress of avoiding a task for 3 hours can be far more draining than completing that same task in one focused hour. For a long time we have been told that procrastination is a character flaw. We label ourselves as lazy or undisciplined, but this is a fundamental misunderstanding of what is actually happening in our brains. Procrastination is not a sign of laziness. It is an emotional response to a task. When we face a task that makes us feel uncomfortable, our brain seeks to protect us from that negative feeling. It wants to avoid the discomfort, and the easiest way to do that is to put the task off and do something more pleasant instead. This is a natural human reaction. Think about the types of tasks you tend to procrastinate on. They usually fall into a few categories: boring, frustrating, difficult, ambiguous, or overwhelming. A task might be boring, like filling out a long and repetitive form. It might be difficult, like studying for a challenging exam. It might be overwhelming, like writing a book or cleaning an entire house. In each case, the task triggers a negative emotion. It could be boredom, anxiety, self-doubt, or a feeling of being completely lost. Your brain's immediate goal is to get rid of that feeling, and procrastination offers a quick, temporary fix. Understanding this changes everything. Instead of blaming yourself for a lack of willpower, you can start to see procrastination as a signal. It is your mind telling you that something about the task feels threatening or unpleasant. The problem isn't you. The problem is your strategy for dealing with the task. Once you reframe procrastination as an emotional management problem rather than a time management problem, you can start to address the root cause. The question is no longer, why am I so lazy? But rather, what is it about this task that I am trying to avoid, and how can I make it easier to approach? This shift in perspective is empowering. It removes the shame and guilt that so often accompany procrastination, which only makes the problem worse. When you feel guilty, you feel even less capable of starting, creating a downward spiral. But when you see it as a simple response to discomfort, you can treat it with curiosity instead of criticism. You can become a scientist of your own habits, observing what triggers your avoidance, and experimenting with different strategies to make tasks less intimidating. This is the first and most crucial step toward breaking the cycle for good. When a task feels overwhelming, our natural tendency is to avoid it entirely. The thought of writing a 10,000-word report is so massive that we don't know where to begin. The sheer scale of it paralyzes us. Our brain sees a giant mountain and tells us it is impossible to climb. So we do nothing. The secret to overcoming this paralysis is to stop looking at the mountain and instead focus on taking a single, small step. You don't need to write the entire report right now, you just need to open a new document. That's it. That is the first step. This strategy works because it shifts your focus from the daunting outcome to a small, manageable action. The goal is not to finish, the goal is to start. Once you open that document, the next step might be to simply write a title. After that, perhaps you can write one sentence. Each tiny action builds upon the last. This is the power of momentum. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, but an object in motion tends to stay in motion. The hardest part of any task is overcoming the initial inertia of doing nothing. A small step is the gentle push you need to get moving. Breaking down a large goal into its smallest possible components makes it feel achievable. Clean the house is an overwhelming idea, but what if you broke it down? The first step could be put one dish in the dishwasher. The next could be wipe down one counter, or pick up 5 things off the floor. These actions are so small that they seem almost trivial. There is very little resistance to performing them. You can't argue that you don't have time to put one dish away. By making the first step ridiculously easy, you remove the barrier to entry. This process builds confidence and reduces the anxiety associated with the task. Every small step you complete is a small victory. It proves to you that you can do it. You are no longer the person who is avoiding the task. You are the person who is making progress. This change in identity is powerful. You start to see yourself as someone who takes action, even if it's small. The momentum from these tiny wins creates a positive feedback loop. Starting becomes easier because you have a track record of success, however small. The mountain doesn't shrink, but your ability to climb it grows with every step you take. If the idea of breaking tasks down still feels a bit abstract, there is a simple, practical rule you can apply immediately: the 2-minute rule. The rule is simple. When you start a new habit or task, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. This is the ultimate way to overcome the friction that prevents us from starting. Almost any large goal can be scaled down into a 2-minute version. Read more becomes read one page. Do yoga every day becomes take out my yoga mat. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes. The beauty of the 2-minute rule is that it is not about the outcome, it is about the act of showing up. The real goal is not to read one page, but to become a reader. The goal is not to do one push-up, but to become the type of person who never misses a workout. By making the starting ritual incredibly easy, you make it almost impossible to say no. It is very difficult to rationalize not having enough time to read a single page or to put on your shoes. The 2-minute rule bypasses the debate your brain wants to have about whether you have the time or energy to do the full task. This rule is a gateway to deeper work. Often, once you start, you will find you want to continue. After putting on your running shoes, you are much more likely to actually go for a run. After reading one page, you might find yourself engrossed in the chapter and read for another 20 minutes. But here is the key: it is perfectly fine if you don't. The goal is to master the art of starting. If all you do is take out your yoga mat and then put it away, you have still succeeded. You have reinforced the habit of showing up. You have cast a vote for your new identity. Use the 2-minute rule to defeat procrastination in your daily life. Is there a pile of laundry you've been avoiding? Just fold one shirt. Do you need to reply to a difficult email? Just open it and write the first sentence. The purpose is to make starting so easy that you can't talk yourself out of it. This simple rule helps you build the small habits that lead to remarkable results. It is the bridge between doing nothing and doing something. And over time, doing something even for just 2 minutes is infinitely more powerful than doing nothing at all. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you wake up feeling inspired and ready to conquer the world. On other days, honestly, the thought of getting out of bed feels like a monumental effort. If you rely solely on motivation to achieve your goals, you are setting yourself up for failure. You are essentially waiting for the perfect mood to strike, and that is a losing strategy. Professionals do not wait until they are in the mood. They have systems and schedules that ensure they make progress regardless of how they feel. This is the power of consistency. Consistency is about building a system that makes your desired actions the default, rather than the exception. Instead of relying on willpower, you rely on a pre-decided plan. For example, if your goal is to write every day, your system might be, every morning at 8 a.m., I will sit at my desk and write for 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if you feel inspired, it doesn't matter if the words are flowing perfectly, you simply follow the system. The decision has already been made, which removes the need for in-the-moment negotiation with yourself. This is why habits are more reliable than goals. A goal is a desired outcome, like lose 20 pounds. A system is the process you follow that leads to that outcome, like eat a healthy breakfast every day and walk for 30 minutes every afternoon. Focusing on the system, on the consistency of your actions, is what ultimately delivers the results. The score takes care of itself when you focus on executing the plays correctly every single time. You can't control the final outcome directly, but you can control the actions you take each day. Building a system means you don't have to think, you just have to do. Design a schedule for your most important tasks. Use a habit tracker to visually represent your consistency. The goal is to make progress automatic. When you have a strong system in place, you are no longer a victim of your fleeting emotions. You are an architect of your life, building your desired future one consistent action at a time. Motivation is a great spark, but it is a terrible engine. A reliable system is the engine that will carry you toward your goals, day in and day out, through sunshine and through rain. One of the biggest drivers of procrastination is not laziness, but perfectionism. We delay starting a task because honestly, we're afraid that we won't be able to do it perfectly. We imagine a flawless final product, and anything less than that just feels like a failure. This fear of not meeting our own impossibly high standards can be totally paralyzing. So, instead of producing something imperfect, we end up choosing to produce nothing at all. We tell ourselves we're waiting for the right moment, for more information or for a burst of inspiration, but what we're really doing is hiding from the possibility of failure. The truth is, the first draft is always imperfect. The first attempt is always clumsy. The first workout is always awkward. This is a natural and necessary part of the process of creation and improvement. The master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. The key is to give yourself permission to be a beginner. Give yourself permission to create something messy and incomplete. You can't edit a blank page. You can't improve a workout you never did. Action, even imperfect action, is infinitely better than perfect inaction. To escape the trap of perfectionism, you must shift your goal from doing it perfectly to getting it done. Adopt the mindset of a craftsman who starts with a rough block of stone and slowly chips away until a sculpture emerges. Your first job is just to get the block of stone onto the table. This means writing a shitty first draft, as author Anne Lamott advises. It means doing a workout with poor form that you can correct later. It means making a decision with 70% of the information instead of waiting for 100%, which may never come. Embracing good enough is a superpower. It allows you to move forward, to build momentum, and to learn through doing. You will learn far more from taking action and making mistakes than you ever will from sitting on the sidelines planning forever. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. When you let go of the need to be perfect, you give yourself the freedom to start. And starting is the only way to eventually arrive at something great. The path to excellence is paved with hundreds of imperfect, completed attempts. It is one thing to set a goal for yourself in private. It is another thing entirely to declare it publicly. This is the power of accountability. When we know that someone else is watching, we're just more likely to follow through. This isn't about adding pressure, it's about adding a layer of positive social support to our goals. An accountability partner is someone you check in with regularly to report your progress. It could be a friend, a family member, or a colleague. The simple act of knowing you have to report back can be a powerful motivator to get things done. Choosing the right accountability partner is key. You want someone who is supportive but will also hold you to your word. The agreement can be simple. I will text you every day after I have completed my 15 minutes of writing. Or, let's check in every Friday to see if we both completed our 3 workouts for the week. This creates a gentle but firm structure that makes it harder to skip your commitments. You are no longer just letting yourself down, you are letting someone else down too. This external expectation can provide the push you need on days when your internal motivation is low. Alongside accountability, tracking your progress is a game changer. Our brains love to see evidence of progress. It is incredibly satisfying to look back and see how far you have come. A simple habit tracker, a calendar where you put an X on each day you complete your habit, is one of the most effective tools for building consistency. The goal is simple. Don't break the chain. Each X you add is a small vote for the person you want to become. It is a visual reminder that you are showing up and putting in the work. This visual proof builds belief in yourself. Celebrating these small wins is a crucial part of the process. When you successfully complete your task for the day, take a moment to acknowledge it. It doesn't have to be a big celebration. It can be a simple mental pat on the back, or telling your accountability partner, "I did it." This positive reinforcement trains your brain to associate the task with a good feeling, making it more likely that you will want to do it again tomorrow. Tracking your progress and sharing it with others turns a lonely struggle into a shared journey, filled with small, motivating victories. Our environment has a profound and often invisible influence on our behavior. If you are trying to eat healthier but your kitchen counters are covered in cookies and chips, you're making your goal unnecessarily difficult. You're relying on willpower to resist temptation, and willpower is a finite resource. A much more effective strategy is to design an environment that makes your desired actions easier and your undesired actions harder. This is about making the cues for your good habits obvious and the cues for your bad habits invisible. To beat procrastination, you need to reduce the friction associated with starting a task. If your goal is to practice the guitar every day, don't keep your guitar in its case in the back of a closet. Put it on a stand in the middle of your living room. When you see it, you're automatically prompted to pick it up and play. If you want to work on a report, don't leave your desk cluttered with distractions. Clear it off so that the only thing on it is your laptop and the necessary papers. Make the path to your desired action as smooth and easy as possible. Conversely, you must increase the friction for the habits that enable procrastination. If you get distracted by your phone, don't just put it face down on your desk. Leave it in another room while you work. If you waste time watching television, unplug it and put the remote in a drawer. By adding a few extra steps between you and the distraction, you give yourself a crucial moment to pause and ask, "Is this really what I want to be doing right now?" Often that small amount of friction is enough to keep you on track. Your physical environment is only one part of the equation. Your digital environment matters just as much. Use tools that block distracting websites during your work sessions. Turn off notifications on your phone and computer. Curate your social media feeds to be inspiring rather than distracting. The goal is to become the architect of your world. You have the power to design a space that nudges you toward your best self. Stop fighting a constant battle against your environment and start shaping it to support your goals. When your environment works with you, not against you, consistency becomes effortless. The journey to overcome procrastination is not a sprint. It is a marathon built from countless small steps. There will be days when you fall back into old patterns. You will miss a day in your habit streak. You will spend an afternoon avoiding a task you know is important. This is normal. It is part of the process. The most important thing is not to be perfect, but to be resilient. The goal is not to never fail, but to not let one failure turn into a spiral of them. If you miss a workout, don't say, "I've ruined it, I'll start again next week." The rule is never miss twice. Get back on track with the very next opportunity. Remember that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. When you use the 2-minute rule to start a task, you are casting a vote for being a person who takes action. When you show up for your accountability partner, you are casting a vote for being reliable. When you organize your workspace, you are casting a vote for being focused. These individual votes may seem small, but over time they accumulate and build a powerful new identity. You are not trying to achieve a goal, you are trying to become someone. The future you want is not created by some grand heroic effort in the distant future, it is built by the small, often unglamorous choices you make today. The book you want to write is written one sentence at a time. The healthy body you desire is built one healthy meal and one workout at a time. The successful business you dream of is created one customer call and one completed task at a time. Stop waiting for motivation to strike. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The moment is now. The power is in the small, consistent actions you take every single day. So what is one small thing you can do right now? Not later, not tomorrow, but in the next 2 minutes. Can you put on your running shoes? Can you write one sentence of that email? Can you put one dish in the dishwasher? Take that small step. That is all it takes to begin. Feel the small victory of that single action. You are now in motion. You have broken the spell of procrastination. Keep taking these small steps, day after day. They will lead you to a future that was once just a dream, built by the power of your own consistent daily effort.